Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. It's Monday. It's a new week. That means we have a new theme. And I'm not escaping the accusations that I'm a glutton for punishment. With this one, I left it up to my patrons. I said, hey, do y'all want to check out a week of gorgeous music that just makes you feel good? Or do you want to check out dissonant noise and gnarliness and grittiness? And they voted dissonance. Not just regular, extreme dissonance. For this week, the gnarlier, the more disgusting, the more atonal and disruptive the harmonic qualities of a song are, the more appropriate they are for the theme. And I suppose starting off with Sonic Youth, that's a good place to start. They're a band that have, in the past, been kind of hit and miss for me. There's been sections that I have found palatable and even enjoyable, but for the most part, I think Sonic Youth has not really been my jam. Today we're checking out something off of Daydream Nation, which I believe we've heard another song off of. This one, though, is called Total Trash. We're going to be checking out the full 7.5-minute album version. Let's dive in. That little bend at the end of the riff, bringing in some instability there. Mostly kind of punky though. Kind of bluesy a little bit.
It started at the top, now it's spiraling down. Works best when it's lost, digging underground. Never mind it now, we can bring it back. It's total trash, and it's a natural fact that I'm not no cow.
So that's not Kim on vocals. I know y'all have told me that Kim doesn't always do the vocals, but I'm just so used to her leading Sonic Youth.
Never the same.
The thinner guitar here versus the larger, grittier one on this side.
Can't kill out the shade. It's a guilty man that can grease the crack. It's total trash. Slap him on the back with a heavy rock.
just casually entering into that drone dissonance and then slipping back into this like nothing happens. Getting real crunchy over here. Oh, crunchiness coming in over here now too. Is that D-Tunes? This guitar is sounding like a modem. Timing falling apart. I can't even nod along to it anymore. Like a heartbeat randomly coming in here. They are not going to try to slink back into the opening sound here.
It started the top. Now it's spiraling down.
No way.
Just when it's lost,
No.
digging underground. Never mind it now. We can bring it back. It's total trash, and it's a natural fact.
It is slightly out of tune here, though. Not a perfect recreation. There's two parts to this track. There's the verse and the chorus. Pretty straightforward punk sound, kind of poppy even. I don't know if I'd quite put it in the realm of pop punk, but we do have two guitar lines, one fuzzier guitar, one more of a lead guitar that's thinner and cuts through the noise. We have the bass guitar, and all three of these are kind of doing their own thing. They're keeping a general similar rhythmic device between the three of them that fits alongside what the drums are doing, which is incredibly straightforward, alternating between bass kicks and snares. Occasionally on beat 4 of every other bar, I believe, we'll have a 4 and the and a 4, 2/8 notes on that snare. They give us a little bit of directionality and sort of put a period at the end of the phrase so that we can loop back to the beginning of the idea in general. The vocals also fit into the rhythmic ideas that are present in the rest of the instruments. They kind of bounce around though. Sometimes they'll be locked into what the bass is doing, sometimes what one guitar is doing, sometimes it'll lock into the bass kick. Sometimes it'll lock into what the other guitar is doing, just sort of bounces around between rhythmic patterns. And there's some rhythmic ideas that are shared between all of the instruments too, and the vocals tend to lock in there as well to create this uniformity in a moment that the entire song locks into an idea for a a couple of beats before everybody's separating out and doing their things more like clockwork, where everything supports the other idea without ever doing exactly what another instrument is doing. This is generally palatable. There is some density going on between all of the string instruments that can create noise at times. Sometimes it's a harmonic thing where the note chosen in the bass doesn't quite match the harmony that's coming in the other two guitars and the vocal on top, and it creates a little bit of instability there, but it's more of one-off ideas where this occasionally happens. More so it's just the noise of having four distinct moving parts on top of a drum kit that's already doing some playing a lot rhythmically. We are getting at least one hit on every single beat from the kit. We occasionally push that to two as well in some cases. So it's not completely oversaturated on the sound sphere, but it is filling up enough space that you're also putting four more layers on top of that, all doing their own thing. And it can begin to get a little cluttered, though again, I do think that most of this is digestible. The melody is catchy enough. What the guitars are doing they're creating atmosphere for the most part. There is riffage going on, but I feel like the majority of this is mostly focusing at giving harmonic information through melodic writing. We do see some dips though. As we get through the first couple of sections, I don't know what they are. The structure to this song is a blur to me, but I'm just going to call it verse, chorus, whether that's accurate or not. Our first four sections, there's some repetition going on in there. And as we get through it, we get to the end of these four sections, we've begun to introduce more noisy components. One of the guitars just stops playing in tune. Maybe everything they play is a half step below what they were playing previously that was in tune with the rest of the pitched instruments. Now it's not. Now it's slightly out of tune. Now it's creating some tension against everything else. This pulls us into our first noise segment. A bit short-lived compared to the other ones, but primarily what we had was a drone happening in the background, one or two of the instruments just holding out a note and hitting it, da-dun, da-da-dun, dun, da-dun, da-da-dun. Some sort of oddly syncopated rhythmic device, but just leaning into this single note, while the rest of the instrumentation was playing things that just did not groove with that it's not rhythmically, harmonically, giving us these very tense dyads and triads based off of all three pitched instruments playing simultaneously. One instrument plays the foundation and the rest of the instruments purposefully grind against that with as dissonant tones as they can. This is just noise drone. There's some movement to it, but especially compared to some of the later instrumental sections, this one's rather stagnant. It is there to set the scene, to foreshadow where we will be going, but it also shifts away from where we were, which did introduce a little bit of dissonance. And I really think that's what the purpose of that was, to shift from the more palatable sound to the palatable sound with one odd part to it, and then that odd part being explored more fully and it dominating the song harmonically. We moved from consonance to dissonance. But then what cracked me up is, almost as if pretending that never happened, they just slipped back into the verse or the chorus, whatever came next. And it was like nothing happened. Let's just get back to the good stuff. But there's still something tainted here. It's not quite as palatable as the way we started. Harmonically, there's something off here, a residual component to that noise drone section. And this is interesting because as we come out of this next noise section into another chorus or something, we have once again lost some of that purity. It is a final chorus section, but with dissonance. dropped in, a little more so than the first bits, where the dissonance was more of a tinge, something that was slightly added to the section. This is a dominant component. You cannot understand this final chorus outside of the dissonance. It is such a strong element of the mix in its entirety. This is a song that focuses on perverting purity, giving us something very palatable to begin with, and slowly contorting it, converting it into something darker and more sinister. Maybe sinister is not the right word, but certainly less pure. Something moving from consonant harmony into dissonant. And there is no way to get back to that purity again. Every time we come back to consonants, there is always some part of the dissonance in there now. And of course, the song ends with just a crazy amount of noise and sounds. And we've kind of moved away from obvious guitars and basses to sounds. I don't even know how to describe them. I have to assume that they are made by the basses and guitars, but we're kind of pushing away from even music towards the end of this track. It is about a type of corruption, or at least that's how I hear the song, moving from purity into filth. That even when you clean the filth off, you can never get back to that pure white again. Now, I do want to bring up the second and third noise sections. The second one primarily focuses around moving noise, where the first one is a drone. You have a foundational note and then the contrast against that. This one is about noise in layers. Not only do we have the dissonance between all the instruments, but they're all playing wildly different things. There's noise just from that factor alone. It is a wall of sound, given how many different lines of music we are hearing simultaneously that are just clashing with everything else that surrounds it. This eventually begins to break down the song as we push not just into harmonic destruction, but also rhythmic destruction, where the drummer just seems to stop playing. They slowly start playing behind the beat. It feels like the song is slowing down, but it's not. The drummer's just not on time anymore. And the drummer just kind of stops playing altogether at a certain point. And the rest of the instruments, without a metronome to fall onto, they just start deviating and scattering into their own temporal worlds. We originally started with just harmonic destruction. Now we are also at rhythmic destruction. And I think when we see the final section of this track, as we move away from very clear guitar sounds into noises, we're moving away from pure melody too, destroying that facet of the song also. There's the trifecta of music smashed to pieces. Rhythmically, it's difficult to follow what's going on. Harmonically, we're focusing on noise, and melodically, there's no melody. At a certain point, this stops being, well, music. Music is, of course, as I have described many times on the channel, combination of sounds and silence. I don't want anyone to walk away from this thinking that Bryan said Sonic Youth stopped making music. No, this is, of course, music in the grand sense of things. But I think that what most people think about when they hear music is melodies, digestible harmonies, and rhythms. Even if they're difficult to follow along, there's at least some sort of rhythmic pulse to it. As complex as music can be, I think even when we listen to progressive or experimental music, we can still find the heart of this. They might be stretched thin and pushed to its limits, but we can find rhythm, harmony, and melody. And here at the end of this track, we've slowly dismantled all three of those. Not about pushing them to their limits, but about seeing what you can make when you remove them mostly entirely. And I think that's really interesting as far as a concept to build a song around. Can you still make music without the three main elements of music? And while I found that this was not an enjoyable listen for me, I enjoyed the more standard pop punk stuff going on, but The jam sessions were definitely not my cup of tea. I did stand by though and enjoyed the sonic arts of it, exploring this question, what is music? And doing it in a way that Sonic Youth does a phenomenal job at. Noisy, punky stuff. The DIY aesthetic. Let's just do it and see what happens. Subjectively, not my cup of tea. Objectively, very cool art. Also, once again, sneaking back into the chorus at the end of the track and having it fade back in against the noise. I just have to laugh as if they're like a magician pulling, trying to pull the wool over our eyes, metaphorically, and trying to sneak this in as if we don't see them doing it. The sleight of hand isn't working. And they're just still like creeping it in regardless, even though we've locked eyes. They know that the illusion is gone, but they're like, nah, we still have to do it this way. And it just cracks me up as if they just hadn't entertained the complete deconstruction of music entirely. Now we're just going to go back to the main riff. Cracks me up. Let's hit some lyrics on this. As straightforward as the sections where the vocals exist, primarily the pop punk portions of this track, as straightforward as the music is, the lyrics are anything but incredibly vague and short. There isn't a single, well, there are a couple of lines here that are more than 4 words in length, but they always are the final line to the chorus. Everything else is incredibly short. Verse 1. It started the top, now it's spiraling down, works best when it's lost, digging underground. That's it. That's the whole verse 1. There's only 4 stanzas in here, and we're a quarter of the way done. And I have no understanding of what this is supposed to be about, other than something that started at the top, spiraled down like a drill, and is now digging underground where it works best, because it's lost. The chorus then says, never mind it now, we can bring it back. It's total trash, and it's a natural fact that I'm not no cow. I wonder if the double negative there is purposeful or colloquial. Am I supposed to read this as that it's a natural fact that he is a cow? Or the colloquial idea that not no cow just has a nice ring to it, where he is speaking about the idea that he's not a cow though. I don't know. Also, because I think that to be more fluid, it would be that I ain't no cow. That would be the more natural way to do that. Though I'm also Southern, and so the double negative as a negative still. Down south, we usually have ain't thrown in there. Ain't no cow. Whereas I think, I could be wrong on this, but I think Sonic Youth is from Seattle. And so maybe not no would be more common over there. Regardless, the fun thing is that grammar says that that should be read as a positive, but in typical speech, lots of people just use it as a negative. So that's the fun thing about English. You never know what anyone's trying to say. All right, so this doesn't mean anything to me. Never mind, we can bring it back. It's trash and I'm not a cow. What? Again, something that doesn't say anything to me in particular. Verse 2 says it's never the same and it's more than a game. Can't take it away, you can't kill all the shame. The second chorus says it's a guilty man that can grease the crack. It's total trash. Slap him on the back with a heavy rock. I don't know. We do have one more chorus in here, comes between 2 noise sections. There it goes again. Magic Monkey Friend. God, I love the time that he seems to spend with all the kids in town. Magic Monkey Friends and someone who hangs out with kids a lot, and they're in town again. I don't know. I'm so lost about this. The Genius Annotation says that this is a song about the crack epidemic of New York City in the 80s and 90s during the war on drugs. And I don't understand how any of this could be related to that at all. I'm very confused about that perspective. Usually annotations improve clarity, and here it's only added to more confusion. There should be cases sometimes where the annotation must require a source or why this is the way it is to be read, some sort of extra component to it. Not just it means this, but it means this because. I'm really confused how any of this relates to the crack epidemic in the US in the late 80s and 90s. I don't know. I'm flabbergasted. But I don't have another read on this to contest. Usually I'll say, you know, I don't agree with the annotations because this is my read, but I don't know what this says at all. So I guess it fits with the music in a sense that I'm not really sure what the music is trying to say, aside from this idea of, again, corruption. That's what I get out of the music. It is an artistic portrayal of corruption and how once the paper is crumpled, it can't be made perfect again. You can uncrumple it, but those wrinkles will always be in there. At least those are my thoughts on Total Trash from Sonic Youth. We have checked out 2 more tracks off this album, by the way, Teenage Riot and The Sprawl. I'll put a link to at least one of them up there, and I guess I'll put the other one back at the beginning of the video. It seems that most of the songs I've heard from Sonic Youth came from this album. But what are your thoughts on this? Because I think I have a decent read on the music, but I'm very confused about the art as a whole. Do you have a different perspective on this? Do you have a different take or opinion on what all of this is supposed to mean? Please put that down in the comments along with anything you'd like to add to the conversation here. Above that, in the description box is a link for Linktree. Takes you here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all 3 of those. That wraps it up for today. I'll be back tomorrow, though, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC as usual. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.